was one story that didn't quite make it into the front pages that broke in about the last hour. Donald Trump's campaign team have accused the Labour Party of blatant election interference, and this follows the story that Labour were going to send almost 100 current Labour MPs, working currently for us as MPs, to go over to the US and influence the election.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know whether it's been done before or not. I mean, it's not the Labour Party as such, is it? It's members of the party going over. It feels wrong to me. It feels like that could backfire horribly if, Trump gets in. And then it's kind of embarrassing that we've got a government in that was going out of its way, working to stop him getting in.
A couple of points, I think, Krista. Who's paying for it? If it's being paid for by the Labour government, then it's taxpayers' money. Who instructed them to do that? The other thing, of course, is these are the very same people that were complaining that Nigel Farage was going to America just recently to support Donald Trump on his lonesome. And now they're sending 100 Labour activists to do exactly the same thing. I don't know if Labour or any of their grassroots people understand the duplicitous nature of in the way they're going around their business, because the first 100 days has been utterly ridiculous.
OK, shall we have a look at tomorrow's front pages? Let's start with the Express, please, Kerry.
Let's start with the Express, which big up to Keir for letting me out early. This is prisoners celebrating their early releases. I believe we've had 1,100 released, which is... Is that not right?
You know, it's brilliant. It's just hilarious.
I said it was...
not even the way you said
it. It's not a humorous subject.
But it is ridiculous.
Very serious stuff.
But it is utterly ridiculous, Kevin.
Starmer's, he says, apparently he shares the public anger, which at what he has to do. I feel like that's a bit like, when headmasters would cane a pupil and say, this is going to hurt me more than it's going to hurt you, which always used to be the answer of let's swap places then. So, I think I share your anger is the new motto for Labour, which is probably coming with everything, with the budget, winter fuel allowance and so on. And we're also told that someone else at number 10 has said but it's the last government that is to blame, which I think is the second motto. And I think as the Labour Party goes on, we're going to just hear them referring to, I refer you to motto 1, I refer you to motto 2, which will be a repeat thing. And Shabana Mahmood, is that the correct way you pronounce it? I think it's Shabana Mahmood.
I believe it's Mahmood.
Mahmood, OK. The Justice Secretary has said that the whole situation is the greatest disgrace of the last Conservative government, which I thought was supposed to be the 22 billion black hole, but apparently this is...
Well, there were so many disgraces to choose from, weren't there?
Yes, they just keep finding...
flattered to make it into the top 5.
New disgraces, and they put David Gorka, who's the former Tory Justice Secretary, in charge of the sentencing review, which I suppose was a good move from them. They can sort of make it sort of like the Tories are involved and so on, which makes a lot of sense to me. And they're looking at what they can do, liberalisation of sentencing laws, because the prisons are so full. They might look at everyone in the country has to take in a violent offender. I've just made that up. That wasn't actually true. Don't panic.
You heard it here first. What about this gratitude, though, towards Starmer, Paul? This front cover is telling us, big up to Keir for letting me out early.
Yeah, big old sarcasm.
I mean, in the country where, religion's on the decline, it's nice to see some gratitude for your lot in life.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is pure sarcasm, isn't it? I would suggest that Sir Keir Starmer takes this front page and puts it in the place where he's taken down... the William Shakespeare or Elizabeth I painting, just to remind him how much of a plonker he is. Because this is now getting utterly ridiculous. It's almost like a toxic relationship, isn't it? Keir Starmer's very angry for the things that he did to us.
He's very angry for the thing. Do you think we've made him feel bad about
No,
himself?
he's saying to us, yes, I do feel angry, even though he did it to us. He's basically, this feels like to me like he's become like some sort of zookeeper. He's gone into the zoo, he's seen that the lions are a little bit overcrowded, so he's let them all out. And in doing so, he is shocked at what has happened next. It's utterly ridiculous. Of course this is what was going to happen. Anyone could have told him that. Yes, the prisons were overcrowded. Yes, that's a problem. But I'll tell you what a bigger problem is. Having criminals just wandering around the streets, waiting to do crime again.
Well, don't worry, Paul. Some people think they won't be out for long. Anything else on the Express, Kerry?
From the Express? No, because that is the whole of the front cover, apart from All Smiles After Oz Royal Tour success. which it turns out the Royal Tour has had, I haven't really followed much, but
Well, I think
massive
it's had
turnout.
mixed success, hasn't it? There have been some
There was an
dips.
activist who got angry the other day. I heard that part of it, but I think otherwise, the thing is, they're still popular. It's popular enough to bring out a big crowd, right?
Yes, of course they are.
That's what I've garnered from it.
Yeah, still popular. OK, let's move on to the iNews, please, Paul.
Yeah, sewage action at last. So Toothless Water watchdog faces axe in new Labour plan. Of course, the I here is talking about Ofwat, and the reason they're talking in this taking ownership with this type of language is because they've campaigned heavily for this. You know, basically, water companies making huge profits have been pumping really bad water into clean waterways, and it's an utter disgrace. I don't think this isn't a party political thing at all. I think we should all be worried about what's being pumped into clean waterways, and it's about time that something was done about it. And Ofwat have just sat back and allowed this to happen, and water companies have just continued doing it because they're not getting told off or punished in any way because they're doing it.
Well, that's right, isn't it? We've been hearing about this story. It feels like about once a week for the last 2 years to me, Kerry.
And nothing's happening really. With the well, when I first saw the headline, it said sewage action. I thought that was like a really terrible movie coming out.
Sewage action.
I like my action movies, but sewage action.
The return of the third.
Swim through it if you dare. You'll never go back in the river. This is, of course, a total failure by Ofwat, which I'm surprised I'm even allowed to say that on this programme, because Ofwat sounds like an insult in the first place.
But that's the way you say it.
Yeah, it is Ofwat.
I
think it's the right way to be saying it, to be honest. They're talking about radical reforms or abolition. I thought it said racial reform and absolution, which is not quite what they're about at all. And the Labour Party, it's odd though. The Labour Party is saying that they don't want it. They want to go into the private sector rather than nationalisation, which doesn't sound very Labour. Really.
What do they want to go into the private sector? The dirty water?
No, the control of the water rather than the responsibility of it all.
Do you know what? That is an option I could get behind, if I'm honest. If they just pump some of that dirty water into our civil service, might sort the wheat from the chaff.
There you go. OK, let's move on to The Guardian, please, Kerry.
OK, well, we've got it. It's going to make it harder to put officers on trial. Police leaders urge number 10. That's a case that's coming up in a little while, so maybe we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's save that exciting moment, along with the other story we'll save for the end of the programme about how a meteorite is coming and going to destroy the Earth in a few minutes. We'll do that one at the end, yeah? OK.
That is not a story.
OK, that wasn't a story. Wow, it's so precise, his programme, so strict. The main story here is about AI, a major threat, say thousands of artists. So a lot of artists have signed a petition. 10,500 artists have signed a petition that will be ignored by AI. And it's one of them is ABBA's, and I've got to be careful, I said Bjorn, I always forget, how do you say his surname? Ulvaeus, is that right? Bjorn.
Wouldn't be able to disprove it.
Bjorn from ABBA.
Yeah.
We all know who we're talking about, although it could, of course, be his avatar from ABBA Voyage, for all we know, complaining about AI, because it doesn't like the competition. In fact, he's doing pretty well out of AI. Wasn't that all AI generated?
It was, yeah.
I believe so, yeah.
Interesting point.
Thank you very much. I do that occasionally. It's one of my things, really proud of it. Stay with me, there's more coming up. So they're not even worried about the traditional AI is going to kill us all. We're just mainly worried about AI plagiarising, which, of course, it's going to do because it's plagiarising software. And I think they're absolutely right to point out how AI is just stealing art from people. But at the same time, this is my feeling on it all. It's going to happen. It's much like in theatres and comedy clubs where we try to stop everybody who had a camera up filming us all. But we're losing that battle. You just can't do it all the time anymore. And sooner or later, AI is just going to change the way we think and do things.
Do you feel this pessimistic? Do you think AI is the end?
I don't. However, I do understand exactly why Kerry does, because we're seeing this sort of thing playing out in comedy clubs all the time. However, for me, art is... I wholeheartedly believe that art is a human pursuit. Any form of AI art, no matter how good it becomes, is not art, in my
Well,
view.
now you're just challenging my opinion, the AI guy, tonight, to make an image of us that is so unbelievably realistic.
But he does it. He does it knowing that it's not real life, and that's what we get our pleasure
Yes,
from.
he does, and I would like to underline that those pictures are
great.
not real
They're good
life.
pictures.
No
They're
one has
not real
made
life.
me either look or feel better in the last couple
Well,
of years.
I saw you
than
with a
that man.
Josh Howie haircut earlier. Can we please have a look at the Metro, Paul?
We can. Gangsters 10k price on gun cop. So this is referring to the fact that this police officer, who has been acquitted this week, now, along with all sorts of other things hanging over him, has a price that, over his head from gangsters, basically offering £10,000 to have him finished off. Now, if we didn't understand just how difficult it was to be an armed police officer before now, we really ought to start treating this differently. We pursue these police officers like they're the bad guy on a regular basis. Largely, I think, thanks to TV programmes and the way they've been depicted, or the way their trials and tribulations have been depicted. And of course, we're obviously in the era of the anti-hero, where people like the unfortunate guy who lost his life in this case, and Floyd in America, where those guys are now the heroes, not the guys that stop the guys. Now, of course, Floyd, I don't want to get into this BLM argument, I really don't. But what I'm trying to make, and the point I'm trying to make, is that these guys are really being held up as heroes, when in fact they're anti-heroes. And the other side of this, of course, is £10,000. A life for £10,000.
Yeah.
That's no value whatsoever.
Well, it's absolutely insane, isn't it? Kerry, Paul, you've got can we have a quick look at the Daily Star? We don't want to leave that out.
Of course we can.
Coming to the end of this.
We've been tangoed. I love this from there. We've been tangoed. So world's saddest fun sponges now demand the Daily Star proves America's second most orangery man is an AI robot. And the story starts this way. Internet crybabies, who most likely have no friends, Cressida, have demanded that the galaxy's best newspaper proves US President Sleepy Joe Biden is actually a fake-tanned, AI-generated bot. As if. Now, I'm not sure what more I can add to this. It's bamboozling. I never know quite which way the Daily Star is going to come down on. However, they've got a point here. This Joe Biden looks about 20 years younger here. It's either AI-generated, a different Joe Biden,
or Josh Howie's got to him.
Or Josh Howie's got to him, exactly.
But do they mean just the picture, or do they mean that he is AI generated? Because why would AI generate someone who slurs and gets confused and doesn't know what he's talking about? The bit I like the most in here is typical the way they talk about the story, that have demanded the galaxy's best newspaper. They're talking about themselves. I always find it funny when people boast and they stop at that point. Not the universe's best newspaper.
Galaxy.
Or the but the galaxy. Just like, that's enough.
Undisputed.